a lot of these opportunities through my INSEAD alumni, for example. So I completed my EMBA in 2018, which was something of a dream for me for many years. But of course, with building a family and having 6 kids while working and managing a region has not left me with a lot of time to do so. So I was really happy to have the opportunity to complete my EMBA in 2018 with INSEAD, and they do have a very strong mentorship program as well that allows me to seek a lot of inspiration from many very established women leaders as well, and that has been really helpful. But I would say, I think something that I would give as an advice to folks that are starting out in their career is really take the opportunity to perhaps apply and join and take many internship opportunities to see what's actually best for your character or what fits your interest best. Because many times when we go through our schooling, we may not even know what's best for us out there. And as I, advise my own children now, they have a 16-year-old as the oldest one, and even a 14 who is looking at, the next step of their life in their education. That's really always my advice, to really look at the areas that interest you best, because that's when you have the most passion out of doing it well. I think also it's important to experience the world. I mean, of course, now in the current situation, it has not given a lot of opportunities for people to travel. But prior to this, I think I was really fortunate during my school time in secondary school, junior college, and also at the local university in Singapore. So I have the opportunity to take on many work stints, participate in conferences, both locally, regionally, and globally. And all those experiences have certainly helped me to, in my current job role, but also throughout my career journey, because a lot of the roles really are with teams across the regions, and now actually managing a global team in US and Europe as well. And of course, my interest along the way has, I realized that where I have a forte of interest with is in sales, because I get to interact with people. I do enjoy, I have an outgoing personality. So I do enjoy interacting with others, and I can't imagine doing anything that is kind of, stuck to my desk 8 to 5. So yeah, so those would be some of my key points to share. So I think in contrast with many other industry, I am very fortunate to actually be in clinical logistics, right? So in the pharmaceutical supply chain industry right now, actually in the past year has been extremely buoyant. So you can imagine the demand for supplies of medications, PPEs, diagnostic kits, sanitizers has kind of flown through the roof, right? And particularly in the area of healthcare that I'm in, I've actually focused on the clinical trials and the logistics and supply chain related to that. So what this means is that as trials become more decentralized, so what I refer to there is that patients now are stuck at home, right? They can't go into the hospital for their medications or their visits. They would need these medications to be sent to them. So these are not just over-the-counter products. So we work earlier in the stages at the clinical trial stage, where these products are still not officially marketed yet. So it's really important for the pharma companies to ensure that there is security of their products, there's IP, because all these IP obviously are not out there in the market yet. They need to make sure that they're secure. The patients that are on these trials prior to this pandemic would require these products to continually be sent to them, because they can't suddenly, not have their medications because the disease states are progressing as well. So with the pandemic, there has been a new almost division that is been generated in my industry, which is related to patient-centric services. And this means directly transporting these clinical trial products into the patient's home, accompanying that by what we call home healthcare services, where the nurses are able to administer these medications to the patients in the home setting, collect vital stats and data that's related to clinical trial, so that they can then continue to be part of the trials, and more importantly, be able to collect these biological samples from the patients to the central lab for testing. So all this wouldn't have been possible particularly in East part of Asia prior to the pandemic, because obviously the regulations that is needed, that is kind of confining all this, it was pretty tough. But with the pandemic, I think a lot of the governments have looked at different ways of working and how they need to be flexible in the regulatory compliance side of things to allow patients to continue to get access to their medications. I think at the same time, apart from the pandemic, there has been a lot of, on the political side of things, a lot of discussions as well on nationalism, right? So I think, if folks have been aware of what's happening, I think there's a lot of discussions around, hey, should we look at diversifying our supply chain? Are we focused too much on relying on just China and India as the main supplier of all our products, whether it's medications or ancillary supplies? And so I think a lot of the companies and governments have looked at, hey, maybe we should identify manufacturing hubs closer to homes. So I think that has kind of started this whole discussion of re-strategizing supply chain networks starting from last year, and we already see that wheels turning in motion. But what I really want to share here, really, I think two big points, right? In every calamity and every challenge that's faced, rather than look at it as in a very negative way, we should really focus and change our perception to see, hey, there is something good out of this as well, right? Because in every calamity, there's always new opportunities to look at. So I think it goes both ways. So that's the first thing that I wanted to share here. I think the second thing that I've also seen shift is that the concept of global roles having to be based in certain regions only is something that that is already shifting, right? So, with more folks actually working from home these days, it really doesn't matter, whether, you are managing a team from the US, from Europe, or from Asia. And I do see a lot more opportunities now for Asians to actually take on such global roles, because the technology has actually kind of flattened that realm already. And many of the colleagues and friends and, industry contacts that I have within the pharma side and CRO side have also taken on this challenge to be able to support a global team from this region, as long as there is the technology to support it, and then vice versa, right? So I think the days of a global role only being able to be managed out of US and Europe is shifting. I think it's really important for one to be flexible and to be adapted to change, right? So that's actually part of life, is really to just really embrace that as life, right? So in fact, many of during this crisis, I have had the opportunity to speak to many of the candidates who are interested to move into a logistics sector, because they have been let go in their previous workplace, whether it's in finance, whether it was in hospitality and tourism and so forth. And I actually have had the opportunity to actually recruit somebody into the team within logistics, even though this person actually have never had any experience in logistics or clinical trials or pharmaceuticals for that matter, right? But I think the attitude of the person is really important, right? And their interest to be able to learn and actually apply the skill sets that they may already have from a previous roles. Because I think these days, a lot of these skill sets that we have could be transferable. And it's really important for you to be able to understand what those are and to be able to seek that out, right? So don't let any failures set you back, right? I'm sure in anybody's career journey, there's always going to be setbacks as well, including myself, right? So I would say even I have been let go at several occasions before for different circumstances, right? There could be because the company has been bought over, because there is a change management, because even in one instance, the company actually asked me to relocate to China at that time, and I was settling down to get married, and I had 4 kids by that time, and preparing my 5th one, so it was not I was not in the right, stage of my life to do that. And so I didn't take that opportunity. But rather than look at those as circumstances which are very negative, again, like I mentioned, it's really the perception of how you look at things. Because with that door, with any of those doors being closed, new ones open for me. And each time, those new opportunities become even better, in my opinion, than the previous ones, whether it's in terms of job responsibility, job scope, even financially as well. So, that's why I said that sometimes rather than look at any of these setbacks as a failure, we should really look at it on the positive side. What else can come out as a result, right? So then that really changes your mindset, and you're then able to learn from it, grow from it each time. And who knows whether the next thing is going to be better or not. I think one big thing that I mentioned in the last question, the first thing for me is actually to embrace change, because it is part of life, right? Because nothing is permanent. So as a Buddhist, as a practicing Buddhist as well, that's actually one of the learnings I have from my religion, right? Is that nothing is permanent. And so you really have to also take me to the second point, which is to really enjoy the present moment, right? So first is really to embrace change. It's part of life. Second is really that enjoy the present moment and really be at peace with everything that has happened. So in fact, with the pandemic, one good thing that has come out of it is that I travel so much less, and I now have a lot more time with my family and for myself as well. So I think I feel that my kids have really appreciated that. My family has appreciated that I'm actually around for them in all their milestones in the past year, and I hope to also continue to be available for them in the coming months, right? And I think the third the third ethos I would like to really share is to take care of yourself. Because in order for us to be able to thrive in the multiple roles, and of course for myself as a wife, as a mother, as an employee, as a leader, as a boss to my team as well, if I don't take care of myself, it's going to be very difficult for me to be able to manage all my multiple roles. And so therefore, I really feel that it's important for me to make sure that I schedule time in my calendar each day to have alone time as well. And I do this through exercise. So every day I do spend about an hour of my time to do a 5-kilometer run, if possible, if the weather lets up. And even if it's not, then to have some of these, indoor HIIT programs that you have now on many YouTube channels these days. But to have that alone time, I think is really important. So you can spend time to reflect on your day, on your actions, on your words, so that you actually can become, more calm and collected when you deal with difficult situations, which will come, right? So I think that's a really important aspect. If you take care of yourself, then you can be a better a role model for others as well.